All right, everybody, we're in the new shop. Took me about 3 weeks to get totally moved in, and I've been doing some wiring to get the lights up and outlets basically around every window, in between each of the shelving units that I brought from the last workshop. But yeah, I like the layout. We're gonna get into a video right now. All right, so I've been working on this cutting board. It's an end grain cutting board, and they wanted their company logo burned on the backside. This is the backside of it. I've actually just finished routing in a juice groove and some pocket handles for it with the CNC, and we're gonna burn their company logo on the back side of this. This is gonna be the kind of the charcuterie side of the cutting board, and then we're gonna be doing that with today's sponsor, which is Creality. They sent over the Falcon 2, the 40-watt model. So we're going to be burning a logo on the back of a cutting board. We're also going to be testing out some of its cutting abilities. Now it claims to be able to cut through 3/4 maple in one pass. And that's going to be the hardest part of our cutting test here. I've got some of my standard 1/2-inch thick strips of kind of pine pallet wood. I've got some, I think, 1/8 balsa. I've got some 1-inch pine. We'll see if we can get through that. And then I've got some 3/4 hardwood ply. So we're gonna do some cutting tests on all of these, and we're also going to burn a logo with it. So evidently today they caught Tupac's killer. So that's pretty cool. Or they arrested somebody in connection with the killing of Tupac, I should say. All right, so here's the 40-watt laser module. We're gonna install that now. So yeah, and that's pretty much it for the setup of this machine. This was super easy to set up. We installed some feet on the bottom here. There's adjusting holes on the bottom here, 3 different settings for different sized workbenches. I just made it as wide as possible, or I used the settings that set them out as wide as possible. It also has spacers. You can kind of see them here. You can add those in, kind of stack them up to get this higher off the ground if you want more of a deeper area to burn. Good cable management, really easy to set everything up. It didn't take long at all. A+ on that. So basically our next steps are to get the software installed. I think we have to do a little bit of work to get the firmware updated on this flash card or something like that. We're gonna get Lightburn running, and we're also gonna get this situated and plugged into the computer over here that controls the CNC. So it's gonna be kind of the digital part of the wood shop. So this is gonna be at home right next to the CNC there. I'm gonna have to get an enclosure for it too so it doesn't get covered in dust. All right, so this is the honeycomb workbench. It's basically like a raised platform that'll hold your piece so you're not burning directly onto your work surface. And I think this is a backer plate that goes underneath it as well that kind of protects whatever workbench you're placing this on. We do have the enclosure to open as well. Yeah, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to write them and get the little enclosure poles because we're missing some of them and it's not gonna go together without the number ones. I was really hoping to use this too. Oh well, we'll sum that a little later. Hopefully we'll get those replacements in time for the video. If not, we'll feature it in another video. We're just gonna move on and do a little test burn while we wait for that. So I've got the drivers that were on that little firmware USB SD card reader thing that came with the product have a light burn profile on there, so you can just import it directly. And I'm going to just do a quick little test burn on this kind of thin little balsa wood. They call it basswood. That'll work. This is basically this little, this is for setting your cut depth or your focal length or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now that it's framed out there, I just drew a square in the Lightburn program, and then I told it to find the frame. So oh, yeah, we gotta get it. Well, it drew a line. It definitely did not cut through the thing like we wanted. And it keeps homing straight into this thing, so we have to get... We gotta get these feet up. We gotta add some feet to this thing. It's hitting the honeycomb. There we go. Yeah, that's the problem. We're gonna need to put the smaller spacers in. And it looks like we cut right through it. One pass. Beautiful. Pretty sweet. I might increase the air on that one to get the letters to fall out. But yeah, it looks pretty sweet. Little stencil there. Pick it out real quick. All right, so I did a couple test burns. I'm putting a logo on the back of this cutting board that I made. This is one of the test burns. This is kind of edge grain. So it's not gonna look just like that. It's a logo for a local company, and I did some test burns on end grain, and it's kind of weird. It kind of burns the end grain strangely. Like the softer wood gets burned and the harder wood kind of stays behind. So we're gonna do a scan burn right there, and then a line burn right there. And then I might have to go back and fill that little burn in with black epoxy, sand it over. This is the charcuterie side of the cutting board. I'm not gonna be too stressed out about using epoxy on a cutting board. We'll see how it looks in a second. I've lined it up with the framing feature in Lightburns. We're right where we got it. All right, perfect. logo. We're gonna have to fill in that cavity that we burned out with some black epoxy. That's gonna look pretty cool though.
It just gets rebranded.
All right, well, that's probably too much, but I'll let that soak into the grain, and we just have to wait another day for this to dry before we sand it off so we can see the how that worked out. It's still a little tacky, so. But for right now, we're gonna do some cutting tests. I'm gonna start with the 1/8 inch basswood or balsa, however they wanna call it. I'm just cutting basically a straight line. See. So 50 and 50 was not enough. Okay. Not quite again. So I think we want to slow it way down. Let's see if that works. That did not work either. Alright. And that one, finished, no problem. One pass. Perfect. That was about 4mm, like balsa ply or whatever this stuff is. It's just kind of sample material that they brought in, that they sent with the machine. So we'll get that out of the way. Now we're gonna try a piece of pine. I use this stuff all the time. This is just a piece of the 1/2 inch material that I create all the time when I'm doing my table projects, my countertops, that type of thing. Oh, this is totally wrong. Let's stop that right now. All right, so that was a quick learning experience right there. I forgot to set the depth, the focal depth. Use your little handy dandy measuring device here. Basically, you put this on whatever you're gonna burn, and then this is the measuring tool that sets the focal depth of this machine. It's probably gonna be cutting too long now, but I don't wanna adjust this file because I've got longer pieces anyways. So let's cut multiple pieces at once. First one, and you can see how far it got. It got almost halfway through. So, almost halfway through. I think it went through. Getting a lot of smoke. Put a fan in the window to try to suck it out. We need to get an industrial exhaust fan in here, though, for pulling out sawdust and smoke out of the air, or some sort of like dust collector. But I think it did it. I should probably have shortened the file there just to save a little time, but yep, right through. Perfect. And it doesn't char it that much. That's what's amazing. You can still see some of the color. It's wild that it doesn't just completely blacken that. 12mm, about 13mm pine. 13mm pine, one pass. 100% power, 3mm per second. I'll show you the setting in Lightburn here. So this is the setting that I'm using. I'm doing a line. You can see it right there. I just drew a line. That's all I'm doing. It's a 4-inch line. 3mm per second speed, 100% power. Double click your cut and get the real details here. Speed, millimeters per second, 3, maximum power 100%. air assist on, etc., etc. I don't really know this program to the full extent, so I'm still learning this program, but it's very, very versatile, and it's making cutting with this machine really simple. And I'm just shocked that I can get a cut like this. We're talking a flush cut. I might just, have this machine set up square trimming pieces for me, so I don't have to sit at the miter saw. So I don't have to sit at that, square trimming pieces for like building a table out, or you've seen a lot of my videos before. I butt pieces up like this. Where they meet, they have to be square. Of course, these pieces are completely ragged and useless, but they have to be square like that. So anyways, I might actually use one of these machines and just have it going and just trimming pieces for me. If I can get the table perfectly square to the machine, maybe CNC some sort of jig out so that this honeycomb is completely square to the machine, to the cutting head. This could be a really kind of effective tool. It's just squaring pieces for projects. That in itself is very underwhelming of a use compared to what this thing can actually do as far as engraving and cutting out complex geometries and all the other things that it can do. Anyways, let's try another piece. I'm gonna leave it on the same setting, but this time I'm gonna use this 3/4, about 18.5 millimeter inches, yeah, 3/4 inch hardwood plywood. Set our thickness here. All right, thickness is set. It's that easy. It's that quick. All right, start the cut. It almost went through, so I'm gonna slow it down just a little bit more and try again, because that's incredible. Well, didn't quite get through. Basically fully through. So either we gotta increase the air or speed it up a little bit, one of the two. You can see it's definitely more burned than it was in the last pass. We're gonna back away. All right, we went way too slow and too much air. We were actually almost creating a fire there. We were basically getting through. We're just going way too slow. I'm gonna speed this up because that was a little dangerous. I don't like seeing fire. Crazy. It's like you gotta figure this out. I went at a higher speed than we did before, and it did an almost even cleaner cut than before. So I'm not quite sure how to dial it in with this. Let's try something even bigger. And that almost did it. That's amazing. That's like 1.25 inches, I think. Crazy. That's crazy thick. Let's check that real quick, actually. Yeah, so that's 1 inch thick right there. 1 inch thick, it cut through in one pass. So let's try 3/4 maple. Let's see if we can get through 2 pieces of maple, 3/4 inch thick maple at the same setting we just cut that pine at. Yeah, it did it basically. Almost. That was it. 1.25 millimeters per second at 100 power. Cut through 3/4 inch maple in one pass. So hats off to Creality and this awesome laser. It did exactly what they said it would. And that is hardwood maple right there. No joke. 3/4 inch hardwood maple in one pass. It's amazing. Also, another thing I've seen people doing is stones. I've seen people lasering stones, so I'm gonna try it on a brick. This is a clay brick. I think it's baked clay. That's what bricks are. Some sort of clay, whatever they call it. Mixture of clay and other elements. It's a brick. It's a red brick. And I found another one, an Ajax brick. I think it's a Michigan company. Some other mixture of minerals and elements. So we're gonna try this red brick. We're gonna try etching something onto that. And we are going to burn the word brick into this brick. And I've made a square on light burn, the same size as the brick, and then I just pulled up the text tool over here, yada yada, and typed the word brick in all caps. And of course, we're gonna be using that Comic Sans. We're gonna do 50 speed at 100 power. And let's get it framed first. There it is. The word brick on a brick, written in Comic Sans. I am really surprised that I did this. I'm sure that it could actually go deeper too. That's pretty amazing. So I guess the only thing left to try is just a big chunk of stainless steel. We're at 2.5, 10 3/4. Alright, so I took this block of steel and I sanded it down because I didn't like the way that it turned out. It was really kind of a dirty block. It looked like I cleaned both sides, so it had been used as a weight for various projects for a long time. And I reburned cone in here with the, I think it's called the Riddle steel. I think this is a block of stainless alloy. I'm not really sure the exact alloy, but it turned out pretty sweet. Right, so when we burned that logo into this cutting board, it did not work at all. It turned out really badly, and it wasn't the fault of the laser engraver. It was the fact that I was engraving into end grain, and I'll try to show you a picture of what this looked like before, but I ended up sending it through the sander tons and tons and tons of times, to the point where the issue was I put so much epoxy here that it bled out around the logo, and then it bled into the end grain itself, and it kind of got stained right there. You can kind of see it kind of stained right there, and you can actually see where I've been carving it out, because I had to scrap that entire idea. But it went deep too. Like, the epoxy went really deep, and I couldn't just keep sanding it until this vanished, because I'd probably lose another ½ inch of material. So what I did is I used I cut out a pocket and measured it, and then I used the engraver to actually cut a piece of wood from the leftover pieces I have from this job. And so I've been testing out different grain patterns to try to match it as perfectly as I can. I'm gonna keep trying to laser cut out these little squares until I find a pattern that matches really closely. I've got a few I've already done here that are getting pretty close. And then I'm just going to bring it over to the cutting board and try to match the grain. And I'll make some lines where I want to line it on the laser cutter, and then cut probably 3 pieces out of this. Something like that. All right, there is one thing. Creality, if you're watching this video, one thing you gotta fix. This button right here, this frame button, you need to have this software linked to Lightburn's software. So when you click that frame button, it clicks the frame here. It is so hard for someone to be back here and then like run over here and try to like see where it's at. It would make our lives so much easier if you click this button and it presses the frame button right here. And I read online that this frame button is for when you're using the SD card. Like you plug in the SD card inside here and you send G-code. I don't really like doing that because I have a lot of computers in my shop. I'd like to just edit things on the fly, not have to swap things from a SD card, just my preference. But if we could use this frame button right here to press the frame button on Lightburn on that computer over there, be awesome. Update the firmware or whatever you gotta do, have it send a signal that presses the Lightburn frame button. And I'm doing really fast passes so I don't burn the edges of the wood. Well, you just press right out. Yeah. Perfect. Now we're going to use Starbond Medium. Alright, so now I'm going to go back with a little Starbond Thin and just flood the edge. And I could use the accelerator here to speed that up, but I'm just going to let that sit. And in a couple minutes, that will be rock solid. Alright, so this is another thing I've been working on, which is a business card. I came up with this design. It's all in vector, and we're gonna burn it in Lightburn now. So the pink layer is a cut through, and that includes the border of the card itself. There is also a gray layer, which is in the center, which is either scan or fill or whatever you want to call it. And then this blue layer is a line or a cut layer as well, but it's not going to go all the way through the card. It's just going to etch a line in. In this situation, in my original design, a lot of these little lines are filled in with black to create like a geometric design, like kind of like a 3D thing. But vector, SVG and all that, they can't see fill because it's all essentially CAD work. It's just lines. It's just vertexes and line work. So I might have to go through and meticulously pick through this whole thing and tell certain parts of this blue to be scan or fill or whatever you want to call it. Fill, technically. My last laser program said scan, which has me saying that now. So I learned a lot of bad things on my last piece of laser software, but I'm getting to learn Lightburn a lot. Is just superior in every way. Anyways, we've got a piece of, anyways, we're gonna stop talking like we actually learned how to speak, and we're gonna frame this up real quick. Go over here, click frame, and that will draw the extent of our design. I already have this set up to go. So this is a piece of balsa wood from the last project that I had finished, which was that standing desk, and I bought a little epoxy mold, and it came with this little frame. Well, I've been cutting that up and using it for laser projects now, so this little thin balsa wood. So we've got that framed and ready to go, and we're gonna let that rip and see what happens. We're gonna test it on balsa first, and then we're going to move over to an actual block of pallet wood. We're going to slice business cards out of this and see if we can burn them. I don't know if it's going to be too flimsy with end grain being that thin, if it might just snap. So we might go long grain as well and see if doing some long grain business cards will work better. I actually thinking that long grain will work better in this situation. I kind of wanted end grain business cards because they'll look cool. Anyway, let's just let's get this set up and run. I think I have the power set way too low on some of these line cuts, and I actually might switch it to precise mode. If that doesn't give me better resolution on this, then I will increase the power as well, because I should have a much cleaner image than what I'm getting right there. Before we move it, I want to make sure that we actually got things cut out, and I don't think that we did. Yeah, I'm going to leave that exactly where it was, and then run the cuts again. That actually worked. This is the exact size of a business card, and you can see this really, the detail you can get out of this. I should have increased the strength of the laser on this layer, and that QR code is just not going to work. It is just, there's just too much going on in there for that to work out. So what I'll do is in the design, I'll move this QR code to the back of the card. We'll just put it on there and we'll sand all this away. That's one thing I've noticed about these, is that honeycomb gets kind of smoked onto the back of whatever you're using, so you have to go back and sand, which is not a big deal. It's just a little bit more production. And there might be a way around this, is to put some sort of, build this up a little bit, and then also create some sort of vacuum on the bottom that to suck the smoke away as well. Maybe drill some holes in the metal plate that leads to a metal funnel that leads to a vacuum of some sort. You wouldn't necessarily want to suck sparks into a vacuum. That would be a bad thing, and creating fire as well, you know, by increasing a vacuum underneath an open flame would be terrible. But the resolution and the detail I'm getting out of this is amazing. I mean, you can see the little hangers on. I think I screwed up the design there actually, because the E's fell apart. in the wrong direction, but that's all right. And some of the pieces kind of collapsed. I think it's just too small, and I let the laser burn a little too long on this part. I wanted to really focus on the TreeCycled part, and that worked perfectly. Or maybe, yeah, it wasn't that my design was wrong. It was just too small, and it burnt too hot for too long. It probably just cooked that out of there, because this word right here is the same as this, vector-wise. So I think that turned out pretty good. I'm gonna have to go through and edit this file though, get rid of that QR code, and then put the QR code in the back. But this is really impressive what this machine can do. And we'll fix the this for sure. It's also crazy, these tiny little letters that cut out. I mean, these things are just paper thin. Anyway, so we redesigned this business card real quick. I'll show you what it looks like. Light burn here. So this is going to be cut out. This is going to be outlined. This is going to be the fill. I'm going to get rid of this right now because that will destroy everything if we don't get rid of that. All right, so we've got the first. We're going to put this on the bottom actually because we want that to happen last. So actually we'll do this first. We're going to go face design first, which is a fill, and then the outline after that. So this is how we're going to do it in order. So the first thing we're going to do is fill that design, and then we're going to go back and outline that design. And the last thing we're going to do is cut that out from the card, which includes cutting the card out itself. So we will click frame here. So this one turned out a lot better. I gotta tweak my settings a little bit because I kind of overburned the cutout letters. For some reason, instead of doing it 4 times at a certain power level, it did it like 6 or 7 times up in those letters. I think this turned out pretty sweet. I think this is a great indicator of the quality you can expect from this laser burner. This, let me get this fan off. I really wish I would have been able to demo the smoke enclosure for you. I'm just waiting for them to, they actually got back to me. They're sending me the poles for this. But I've been having to like daisy chain a couple of fans together to blow smoke out my shop window right there, which is working okay. There's a bit of haze in the air though, and I'm definitely wearing a smoke protector because you definitely don't want to be breathing smoke when you're cutting through like balsa plywood like this, because there's glue in there and you don't want to be breathing that smoke. But I thought this turned out really cool, and this definitely displays the quality of what you can expect from a machine like this. And if you're thinking about getting a laser, I don't think there is one that's going to be better currently in this power at this price point. Keep this in mind if you're thinking about getting a laser for your shop, because there's so many projects that I can think to utilize this on to kind of change my approach to the way that I build things and craft things and create things. So I want to thank Creality again for sending this out. I can't recommend it enough. There'll be links in the description if you'd like to purchase one of these yourself. So check that out below. So yeah, thanks again guys for watching. And if you like this kind of content, let me know down in the comments. I usually do build videos, but I'm going to be incorporating these types of machines into my build videos in the future. If this is the kind of content that you're interested in, just let me know down in the comments below, and I'll keep adding this type of stuff in. And let me know what you think about lasers in general, if they have a place in your workshop or not, or if you've been thinking about getting one. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. I do this for a living, and I really can't thank you enough for interacting with the video. If you click all the little things, the like button, leave a comment, the subscriptions, anytime you do that stuff, it interacts with the algorithm. It helps boost my videos, my last few haven't really done so well, even though I put tons and tons of hours into editing them. And for whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm isn't really putting that out to a wider audience. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but if you like something about this video, let me know. If you dislike something about this video, let me know in the comments below. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye.